who's next? Yeah, who's next? Who ride a greyhound all night? Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. We want you to win. We're trying to bring inspirational, motivational, and educational content to you people so that you can get it together and be better than you were yesterday. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M B, Creating Leverage in the Music Business. It's an acronym. Love it. Learn it. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And I love Brent because he helps songwriters turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. If you need to find Brent, you can find him very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
Hey, and I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound, and they help you find your audience. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating money fingers right there. Cash flow. Yeah, Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and we know why there's no S, because there is only one Johnny Dwinell.
What's up, brother?
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going good. It's long, crazy days. Not complaining one bit, but long, crazy days. Like so.
Good problems. Good problems.
Good problems. Yeah. Good,
I've already written that. Don't write that.
That's a Anthony Oreo song.
Anthony Oreo song.
And I love that song.
Thank you.
I recognize that right away.
There we go.
I saw Anthony the other night, by the way. He performed at Whiskey Jam.
Oh,
and
cool.
Was freaking amazing. All new songs that I hadn't heard yet. It's been a while since I've seen Anthony perform, and dude, he was right on the money. Like, it sounded great. So
good.
Hat tip to Anthony Oreo out there if you're listening.
Yes, Anthony, we love you, buddy.
So today we're going to talk about faith.
Oh, George Michael. I know, man. Moment of silence.
You got him on the mind, man. No, it's not George Michael. We're talking about faith.
Hill.
Not Faith Hill either. No, because I like her. She's hot. We could talk about her. Both of them, I feel like I've never seen Faith Hill and George Michael's butt in the same room. They could be the same.
Well, you never know.
I mean, I think they could wear the same Levi's jeans.
Probably so.
But I want to talk about faith.
Okay, let's back to this. Okay.
Faith requires hard work. So, how's your faith these days?
We shall know by how hard you're working.
Yeah. How's your faith these days? Do you believe in your music even in the absence of proof of success? Which is required in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. Faith comes in all different shapes and sizes. You can have faith in your God, faith in your significant other, faith that your car is going to make it from point A to point B, faith in your bandmates, in your co-writers, in your future, faith in your children, which is also, you learn to have faith in your, so says the guy with no kids, but I've got nieces and nephews, but you learn to have faith in your children, but it's an extension of faith in you that you're teaching them, right?
Mm-hmm. Every time I leave them in the room unsupervised, I'm just exercising faith in my children.
That's right, that you're not going to come back to some bloodbath or whatever.
Exactly, right.
Fair enough. Faith in your business partners, in your business itself, in your vendors, and your employees, faith in your family, faith in humanity as a whole. Right? That we're headed in the right direction. Faith in your music. How about faith in your ability to communicate?
Mm-hmm.
And all faith, I believe, really springs from faith in yourself. Boom. Like, ultimately, to believe in all these other things, you've got to believe in yourself. Right? If you can't believe in yourself, how can you have faith almost in any other thing? And that's it's devotion to yourself, into what you can do, into being better at what you can do, at being better at communicating, to being a better person, to being a better Christian, to being a better guitar player, to being a better vocalist, to being a better songwriter. That is the connective tissue between the impossible and the possible.
So if you don't believe you can do it, you're right.
Correct.
That's right. If you believe if you have faith, like I can get there, I can break that 4-minute mile. You're going to keep on training.
Yeah.
And you're going to put in the work. If you don't believe it, you're not going to train as hard.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. Or you're going to give up too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's I think that's probably. I mean, I'm going to ask you this question, right? Like, as a devout Christian, I know, because I've been honored to be as close to you as I have been for the last year and a half, you know? And, you know, there have been moments where I believe your faith in your God, like, brought you through moments where, you know, you just weren't sure, like, but it's that connective tissue, right? Like, you just knew, all right, I don't see the whole staircase.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
But I'm going to make it.
Right. Yeah, I'm lucky if I get to see a step or two. And most of the time, that's just what I'm praying for. It's just next step, Lord. Just show me the next one. I don't need all of it because I'm probably not going to get it anyway. Just show me the next one.
Right.
So, yeah.
And so that's it. So like the building blocks that are required to construct a bridge between your dreams and your reality in your artistic endeavors, and by the way, in your life, faith is the raw materials of that edifice. Faith is the cement that you're going to use to make the building block, however that's going to manifest itself, right? And if you don't like your reality, you need to check your faith.
Because it's a person that never leaves their day job because the job they hate to get the better job because they don't believe they can get it, or they don't believe they can do it. So they stay where they are. And
they stay hating what they're doing, and they complain. Right? And you know, these building blocks, they require hard work to assemble them into something that you find to be beautiful, that you find to be satisfying, fulfilling, even if it looks, and it always looks, different than the way you initially imagined it. Right? There's always something different. You know, are you not satisfied? How's your faith these days? You know, we mentioned before Martin Luther King, you know, taking the first step. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. And we can never see the whole staircase, right?
Right.
We've talked in previous episodes, Brent, about, man, it just put the train on the tracks. You're never going to get all the track down in advance of putting the train on it. Like, you're lucky just to get enough enough track down in front of the train before it rolls over it. But that's about what your life is going to look like if you're playing it right. Like, it seems like when we see people that have made it, when we see people who are hit songwriters, who are, you know, maybe on TV, maybe they're famous artists, and they seem to have their life all together. It seems like they got it all, that railroad tracks laid out, and it's just this, you know, unbroken boulevard of green lights. There's no speed bumps, potholes, red lights, bad traffic. Like, they just sit back and the car just drives itself, but that's not the case.
Right. Never.
It's never the case. The higher the stakes get, the more faith is required. Right?
Yeah.
In all these things, faith in your team, faith in your bandmates, faith in your co-writers, faith in your God, faith in your significant other, in your family. Like, okay, because the weight and the repercussions of a bad decisions get bigger, don't they?
Yeah.
You know,
if your band's in front of, you know, 20,000 people, you know, it requires more faith. And by that point, you have more evidence to back it up, but still more faith that your guys are going to put on a killer show in front of these 20,000 people than it requires in front of like 20 people. Yeah. You're like, yeah, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
you just made me think of something right now, and I want to bring this out because it's heartbreaking to me, but I think it's appropriate right here. the Allman Brothers brought my band from Wisconsin down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned what was really going on.
Mm-hmm.
I went down there and I had it all figured out, man. I got these guys calling me up like, I just need to get on MTV. I look beautiful. We got this killer band. We're all gonna rock. And this is all that's. We just want one more step. And then I saw Warren Haynes play in pre-production in the studio, and I just was like, psh, oh man. Like, I got to rethink this whole thing. Like, I just got checked so hard in the glass, it didn't break my nose. Like, it impounded my face, you know what I mean? And he was the nicest guy on the face of the earth. You know, he couldn't have been more sweet, but I just was like, so like, dejected and having to find that place. But, you know, recently there's been some news, Derek's uncle, Butch Drux, he recently passed away and he committed suicide. And he did it in front of his wife.
Oh, man.
And he's like in his 60s. He might have been fastly approaching his 70s. So what made me think of this, Brent, and I'm not trying to get like ugly here or dark, but this is about the faith part of it, right? Like and this is part of the message that I'm trying to put across. He already had all the fulfill, like because you mentioned like if you're in front of 20,000 people, you sort of got this reaffirmation, right? You're doing something right because all these people are there, and they did all that. But what happened that happened? That it cost him to do that. He lost faith somewhere, and I think in a lot of different things, and I see this happen a lot. I see this happen with artists when things start to move a little too fast or whatever. It's astounding to me that it happened to Butch this late in the game. But it just goes to show you, it's never too late in the game, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, you've really got to find that faith in that and in what you're doing. And when you really love what you're doing and you really think you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not defining your life by anything other than who you are, you know? The faith means that the glass is half full or if it's half empty, you know, it's up to you because you're the one pouring the water. Right? So how are you going to choose it, man? I mean, the Wright brothers, we talked about them in past episodes. No money. They built they built their legacy off of a bicycle business in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And they did it in the face of somebody who had all the government funding and all the best minds and everything like that, but they still did it. Why? They had faith. They knew they were doing the right thing for the right reason. How about Def Leppard? Remember that story, Brent?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after that big breakout record, Pyromania, I mean, the drummer lost an arm.
Oops.
Wow. So right there, they got to have faith. And he came back and he's like, look, I'm going to figure this out. So they got a brand. They got something that's going on. I mean, they could have always taken care of him, right? They could have been bros. They could have been good people and said, hey, you helped us build this, but we need somebody with 4 limbs to do this
Playing
job.
drums.
But they said, okay, man, do your worst. Go make it happen. He came back and he worked his butt off. So they had faith in him. He had faith in them. And they worked hard because of faith. And then figured out a way to... Now he still tours, right, with them. And on top of that, they changed producers, paid the producer a crap load of money that they didn't use and went back to the original producer. And, I mean, that Hysteria record...
that was a good call.
5 million copies before it was going to break even after everything was said and done. It was the biggest mess in history. And by the way, a future episode coming up, I'm going to talk about a band that was like wiped out kind of in the wake of that. I'm just a little teaser. But that's faith, right? The founding fathers of our country in the United States here had to risk their lives, speak their minds, take action to make a new world. They had faith that they knew what they were doing and that they were doing it for the right reason, right?
Right.
Faith holds families together in wars, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, Afghanistan, etc. I mean, we struggle to believe in ourselves. one of the reasons we believe in ourselves is our education system, right? We have it's archaic a little bit. It dates back to a monarchy. It's designed to keep people on the hamster wheel, and that's good for people, or good for the government, which is people control. Bad for art. Mm-hmm. We need to think outside of the box for art. Art requires faith in yourself. And this, like, to a degree, when your loved ones offer resistance of any kind about your career, Brent, you've been through this a little bit, and maybe it wasn't resistance, but maybe it was a little like just out of a good place, out of love,
right?
But fear, right, from people that you respect, about choosing the career that is deeply rooted and planted in our society is not something that's going to benefit you, that's going to make you a provider or whatever. Like, how did you deal with that?
Well, overall, you do what you got to do, but it comes down to having the faith that God's going to lead me to what I'm supposed to do, and even if I don't understand the steps in between, like, okay, you're going to walk me through a valley, there's faith that there's something better on the other side.
Yeah. Even
if I don't know exactly what that's going to look like or what it is, even if it's just a positive change in me and who I'm supposed to become, there's faith that it's going to be all right, even if I don't like the circumstances right now, or it goes through a dark place or whatever, or it doesn't look like there's a way out or an upside, that you're being led somewhere. Yeah. That there's a good goal. There's a good place, that I'm journeying to.
I can promise you this, that as everybody that's listening to my voice, as each of your stars begin to rise, even just a little bit on a local level, you're going to experience some jealousy. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some people that come out of the woodwork because, at the bottom line, you are exhibiting an uninhibited spirit. You're choosing to live outside of the box. You're choosing to kind of go against whether we want to believe it or not, we've all been kind of taught in school. You're in a row. Here's what, everybody's in a certain row. There's a certain structure. Yeah. Like this is all part and parcel of it. This is not anything weird that I'm talking about. This is just factual stuff that goes on. And when people are outside of the box, some people get angry, A lot of people get angry because you reminded them that they lost their faith in themselves. Mm-hmm. A while ago. They secretly dreamed to live the way you live and think the way you think and behave the way you behave, but they just didn't have the faith to do it. You're trying. You're not trying to get over on them. You're not coming from a bad place, I would hope. But whether you are not trying or whether you are trying, the result is they're feeling inferior, and that's kind of their baggage, right? But that's a lack of faith.
Yeah,
does that resonate with you at all? Like, have you run into that?
Thankfully I haven't run into a whole lot of, I guess, the jealousy or the negative resistance from people on that kind of stuff. But, I remember when I was working at Altel Communications back in Little Rock before I moved to Nashville. And so this was 2002. And so I gave my 2-week notice, in the cubicle jungle, the Khaki Palace where I worked. And,
Khaki Palace.
Yeah. Anyway, so glad to be out of that cubicle. But anyway, God bless them. But several people came up to me and said, man, it's just really inspiring to go see what you're doing. And I hadn't accomplished anything. I just gave my 2-week notice and was moving to Nashville without a job. So I hadn't accomplished anything. I was displaying faith and gumption. And people found that, the people that mentioned it said it was inspiring. And I thought that was kind of odd. And like, well, it's just something anyone can do because, I'm just trying.
But most don't.
Not doing anything else. But I guess most don't. That's why it's inspiring because,
and that's what we're talking about. I mean, few do it because it's hard and it requires an insane amount of conviction. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's easier to get on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. I know people because your faith is tied to how hard you're willing to work and how much you're willing to put up with it. Yeah. There's the verse in the Bible that says faith without works is dead, meaning the works are a byproduct of faith, right? That, and so take it out of the religious context. So to say, faith without works is dead. If you say you believe that you can make it, but you're not really trying, you probably don't really believe it. Because if I really believed there was
awesome
$100 bill under the mat on my front door, I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to unlock the door. I'm going to check under the mat. Yeah. If I say I believe it, but I don't really believe it, maybe I'll check it in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, how about if I believe there's a $100 bill being blown down the street right now, we're going to have to pause the podcast. I really believe there's a $100 bill blown.
I'll be right back.
Hold on. Hit pause. I'll be right back.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'll get probably once or twice a month an email from somebody with a whole lot of faith in zero works. Mm-hmm. And I can tell right away.
Yeah. How can you tell? Because
they want to be famous. Right, because they want to be famous. They're not saying the right language. Like, I can tell that it's just like, I can almost, and a lot of times I'm not being, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm not trying to convict them. I'm not trying to indict these people. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times they're young kids sometimes, mm-hmm. And I can almost tell how old they are. I'm like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 14. And they just, like, in a way, that's a good thing because they have the gumption to reach out. They're like hustlers already, but they're just completely naive, to the way the business works. And they're like, yeah, I'm looking for a label that really believes in me. And they're trying to sell this stuff. And I'm like, what do you want a label to do for you right now? Even if they love you,
Right.
Well, here's what I want to do. I want them to advertise me. I want them to record me. And then they go out and they spell out exactly what it's going to take to make them famous. And that's kind of like, but so sometimes that can come in the form of naivete. Well, I think oftentimes it does that, right?
I think it's important. Well, to backtrack real quick about, faith without works. If, I had a buddy that he's not in Nashville anymore, but one thing in a moment of definite honesty, he was telling me, he goes, if I don't really try, I feel like I don't really fail. If I hold something back, I can't, there's this little escape hatch in my mind where I feel like I didn't really fail. I just didn't really put everything into it. So it kept him safe. Yeah. And because that way, instead of I gave it everything I had and it didn't work.
Okay,
I'm left without excuses.
Back to Martin Luther King Jr. Faith is not seeing the whole staircase, but taking the first step.
Right.
So faith.
He was scared. He didn't know where the staircase would lead. So he's not really going to climb up, but maybe a couple steps and go, I'm
going to step back down. Yeah, and I know I took one step, and I'm just going to.
I kind of tried, but I didn't really, get to the top of the stairs, but I didn't really try that hard.
Okay, let me ask you this: how would faith to you in your brain, like right now, off the top of your head, correlate with courage?
Well, I believe it can happen. Whether you believe in yourself that I can make it happen, or I believe that that's what God has for me to do. Either way, okay. David stepped on that battlefield with Goliath because he's like, God protected, me from lions and from bears. When I was a shepherd out in the field protecting my flock, and he's going to give me victory over this giant. So that was courage, because he didn't look at, I'm a young kid or whatever, and he's a accomplished warrior who's like 9 feet tall and got I'm not a warrior. I'm a shepherd. His faith gave him the courage to step out there and go, hey, God's going to give me the victory. And so it totally enabled his courage. It enabled me to move to Nashville, because it's like the faith, even if I don't remember now. It's like, I believe I'm going to be a number one writer. But it's like, I believe that I'm going to be all right. I'm going to go and I'm going to try.
You're going to figure out a way.
And I'm going to figure out a way, or I'm going to be all right. Either way. I was more scared of never having tried, but it's like, I'll figure it out. And if, it's not going to kill me. I have faith that it's going to work out one way or the other, even if I don't know what that looks like. And for me, versus my buddy who said, if I don't really try, I don't really fail. I was all in. Because I was like, I gotta know, and faith also, get into some of the writers' rooms I've been in, faith that it's going to happen, that the lines are going to come, the words are going to come, the ideas are going to be there.
Yeah,
that I can hang with this person
right when they're arrive right on time.
They're going to be just when I need them.
Sometimes not in advance.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, so for me, same thing. Moving back to Nashville, I had nothing, nothing, and I just came back like, okay, like this just feels in my gut, like this is where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Right? I'm supposed to be there. And I don't know how it's exactly going to look. And I know that I don't know how it's exactly going to look, if that makes sense. Like I'm aware that I don't even need to bother overthinking it.
You're not going to be able to paint it
exactly.
Anyway.
So I'm just going to go and work. I just know this. I'm going to work. I'm going to work on what I think I should be working on. And I think a lot of artistic people in the community lose sight of that. Because listen, some friends and family are genuinely going to be scared for you because they don't want you to suffer living against the norms of society. They're worried about that, right? And a lot of that is genuine care, and they come from a good place. And a lot of that, some of that care comes from like your friend who said, if I don't really try, I don't really fail. And so they sort of, it's a perspective, right? Like they're not trying to hurt you. I don't think that a lot of the times when people come at you with that kind of energy, that some of them do. Some of them just evil, right? And they just, they are intentional on doing it. A lot of people,
and they don't want you putting in their face what they're not doing.
Exactly. But some people are unintentional about it, but the damage is the same if you choose to adhere to it, right? So you have to be able to discern between those two, and that's where your faith is going to come into play. And if they come in feeling honestly by what they were taught, and it's what their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents were told. They're, in a sense, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, and you have to be able to recognize that, this is okay, we're not going to do this. Our society teaches us to believe what certain things were put forth. They teach us almost to believe more than they teach us to think for ourselves, if that makes sense.
They kind of tell you what to believe.
Yeah, in whatever they want you to believe. Like, some things are good to believe, some things are not good to believe. But I just remember my dad, when I would come home from school, my dad, one of his first questions would be, at dinner every night at 6:00 would be like, well, so did they teach you to believe or did they teach you to think?
Yeah.
He was all about believing in whatever I wanted to believe in, but he wanted to make sure I was thinking for myself,
Right. Well, that dovetails beautifully into something I wanted to come back to. You were talking about like the possibly 14-year-old artist that just wants to be famous and everything. And I wanted to come back to that anyway. So thank you for bringing that back around.
Yeah.
Is the object of your faith matters. So like say that young, artist that wants to be famous had faith that, a record label will do everything.
Yeah.
Or some people have faith that it'll just work out. It'll happen. What do you do?
Because I want it to.
I don't know. It's just going to happen. I just have faith. That kind of faith can be a crutch. It can be counterproductive. It can be what keeps you back. So I think the object of your faith does matter.
That's so good.
Just on a human level. I won't even go to the religious part.
And connect that back again to faith without works. Like if you're having faith that something will happen without working, that's not faith. That's naivete, right?
Yes.
Like it doesn't matter if it's like, Brent, how much work, and I already know the answer to this, do you put in to your faith in your God, in your church, in your community? Like you put an insane amount of time into that. Like it's inspiring.
Oh, thank you. And it's not. And the interesting thing is the works come as a byproduct of faith and not to earn. So that's a whole different thing. But because of the faith, it spurs you on to grow and want to learn more. But it's kind of like earning. It's maybe not earning money, but you are earning respect. You are earning a more respected place in your community. People know they can rely on you, and that is fulfilling to you, right? Like that is the altruism. Is that fair to say? Well, I don't even think about it in those terms.
Not that would be your goal. You do it because you want to help.
Yeah, that might be or it might not be. For some, in some circles, the more the more I follow God, the more disrespect I get, and
oh no,
the more So it just depends on where you are. So you just
are you hanging out with atheist metal bands? And I'm not.
I mean, a large portion of society, I'm hateful, right? But I put time in because of the faith. I wouldn't do that if I didn't have the faith. I wouldn't bother reading the Bible if I didn't believe it. What would be the point? But because I do believe, I want to dive deeper, and that produces more faith.
I love that.
So it is the more I do dive into that, the more, and I believe it's God causing that growth in me, not me causing that growth. But the more it's that virtuous cycle, the more you dive in. So say move it back to music, the more you start with faith, the seed of faith, and then you take that first step, and eventually you start seeing some rewards from that. You start seeing some positive momentum. That wheel starts turning, and then that kind of confirms and springs up some more faith because that kind of worked. I got one good line out of that song. Let me do another one, and you start getting more and more reaction, positive results, and that breeds more and more faith. And pretty soon you're just rolling. And so you're able to I'm going to commit more and more. Okay, dang it, I'm moving to Nashville. I'm moving to New York. I'm moving to Hollywood, baby.
I can do this. I can do this. Yeah.
Because you've been working. And so I think it's a virtuous cycle. The more you do, eventually you start seeing the results of that. It's the opposite of a vicious cycle. I like the virtuous ones.
I like that. I'm going to steal that. You mentioned it a few times now, and it just hit me. I'm like, yes, that's great. It's not seeing exactly how your life will turn out. It's more about a deep understanding that in the face of danger, defeat, doubt, utter failure, you will find a way to survive, improvise, adapt, and overcome, and even thrive. Right? Like you mentioned it much more simplistically because you're the you're the wordsmith.
Me do words good.
Yeah. You're like, I just know I'm going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going to be okay. And so it's a reliance on your own personal growth as a human, a soul, as a friend, as a lover, as a parent, as an artist, and the very thread of hope that gets you through the tough days, and it makes the good days sweeter. And listen, multiple times during the course of a month, I'll have doubtful days, where I'm just like, I have exactly no freaking idea what I'm doing right now. And I'm on my way to something, and there's just, I feel like my hope is gone for the day, but I have faith. My mom used to tell me, tomorrow's another day, Mm-hmm. And so this is just a moment that I'm going through, and I just need to search for my blessings. Right. Yeah. I need to search for what God gave me. I need to search for my blessings. And I just count on those, and that just recharges the battery enough to get me to that next destination, to wherever I'm going through. Get me through the day until I'm back in bed and I know tomorrow is going to be another day. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's hard. But so there it is. With conviction, the uncertain times, you get validation when the answers come. In 2020 hindsight, validation manifests itself in the form of failure sometimes. Thomas Edison found 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Mm-hmm. Don't. Every time you lose doesn't mean you lose. Sometimes when you lose, you win. A lot of times when you lose, you win. And think about that girl in high school that you wanted, and then you saw her at the reunion, and you're like, oh, I won when I lost. That's right. Whoa, lucky, right? Yeah.
Right.
Validation manifests itself in the form of pain sometimes, like when your intuition was right all along and you finally have proof, It means truly believing before the validation. That's what faith is. And that's what art is about. And you can't succeed without believing in yourself. So the conviction grows stronger, but you have to work at it. The work, like faith without works. Is that right? Is that the exact quote that you had?
Yeah. Brent, faith without works is dead. Meaning, an apple tree is going to produce apples. Yeah. If an apple tree isn't producing apples, well, it's, how do you know it's an apple tree kind of thing? It will produce what it is.
Fair enough.
You will see the fruit of what it is. If you have faith, works will follow. If you're not chasing, do you really have faith?
There you go.
I'd be questioning it.
So you have to have faith, number one, but number two, hard work. And if you take the faith and you add the hard work, you will get validation. That's just a mathematical certainty. Okay? And that's what it's about. So how's your faith these days? Huh? So that brings us to the end. Great insight, Brent. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Another killer episode of the C.L.I.M.B. And hey, that's not all. If, as always, my best-selling Amazon book on Twitter is available to you for free if you go to giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com. You can download it for free. It'll teach you how to target an audience and how to grow your audience by 1,000 targeted followers every single month for just 15 minutes a day. It's my gift to you for just listening through the end of the episode. We appreciate that. And if you find yourself stuck, if you're kind of looking for the next level and some inspiration and some very customized guidance on what you should be doing with your career, I'm available to you on a kind of consulting basis. We do charge for that, but you'd be amazed at what we could absolutely get done in as little as 2 hours. I'll have a bunch of work for you that will get you on the right track and kind of charge your batteries, reinvigorate you, and get you going the right path. So if you are interested in that, just hit me up at info@daredevilproduction.com. Again, production is singular. There's no S. info@daredevilproduction.com. That's it, guys. We want you to win. So hang in there and stay tuned for the next episode. Leave a rating review if you like it, and keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.